Imagine if the worst thing that you have ever done became the only thing that people remembered about you. They did not remember your growth, not your kindness, not the countless little decisions that you have made to become a better person. Just your worst days. And somehow, I don't know how it works, but our worst moments always seem to have the best memories. Hi guys, welcome back to Catching Up with Finesses. How are you guys doing? Now before we go any further, if you have listened to the main character illusion, you might be thinking, what exactly does Pelumi want us to do? Didn't we say that people don't think about us as much as we think that they do? And yes, I said that most people are probably not thinking about you. Your old classmates is not replaying the embarrassing thing that you did 5 years ago. Neither is your neighbor staying awake, trying to remember one awkward conversation that you had back in 2022. Most people are busy trying to figure out their own lives. So this is not about strangers replaying your embarrassing moments. It's about the people who knew one version of you and then they really never updated the picture. The people who met you one season in your life and then decided that they knew who you were, and they probably still think that they think you are the quiet one or the stubborn one or the irresponsible one. Some even have pictures of you as the angry bird or the one that always needed somebody to show up for them, someone that always needed saving. And then you're just there thinking that was me and that's not me anymore. That's the funny thing about life. It does not ask for permission to change us. It just does. Quietly, slowly. One conversation can change you. One disappointment, one friendship, one goodbye, grief. So many things can cause somebody to change. Until one day, someone who hasn't seen you in years looks at you and is like, you've changed. Even you would almost doubt it, like really. Because you yourself don't even know that you've changed. You were just living and you were not keeping scores. There was no public announcements. There was no notification pop saying that, oh, congratulations, oh, this person has changed. Nobody gets an email. Life just does what it does. I mean, and while you were just busy surviving it, it was quietly reshaping you. Sometimes so slowly that even you don't notice it until someone else points it out. Because if you asked somebody in my secondary school to describe me, you probably get one answer. If you ask somebody else from my university, you probably get a different answer. And if you ask someone who only knows me through Catching Up Finesses, they probably describe me as someone else entirely. And none of them would be lying. They would all just be describing me in different chapters that they met me. Because if you had met me in secondary school, you probably wouldn't have called me quiet. I was not the loudest person in the room, but if I believed that something was right, I would say it, sometimes a little too confidently, but I would say it. The university happened, assignments, disappointments, new environments, responsibilities, even conversations that changed me. And somewhere between those years, I became much quieter, had fewer friends. And if you're not among those 3 or 4 people that I hang around with, you probably would not have seen much of me. And I just became different, or let me say I became a different version of myself. Now imagine someone from secondary school meeting me during university. They would have probably looked at me and like, what happened to you? Now imagine someone from university meeting me today. They will probably ask the same question. What happened to you? And funny enough, both of them will be right, because they are just comparing me to different versions of myself. And I think that's true for all of us. Maybe the version that our childhood friends remember isn't the version that our colleagues know. We've probably changed more than we give ourselves credit for. And the person you are today might surprise the person you were 5 years ago. Because we spend so much time wishing that people would notice our growth. We forget to even notice it ourselves until someone says you've changed. And then your first instinct is, no, not really. But when you think about it again and then realize that you probably have changed. Version of you was real. None of them was fake. They were just maybe unfinished, because people don't always know who you are today. Most of the time, they only know the version of you that they experienced, and sometimes they stop updating the picture. And when you really think about it, it makes sense. How else should people know? They can't see every conversation that you've had. They cannot see every lessons that you've learned. They don't know the nights that you cried. They don't know the apologies you made. They don't even know the habits that you broke, the fear that you overcame. Those little decisions that slowly shaped you into the person that you are becoming. They don't know. They only know the chapters that they happened to read. And while you were busy living, they be remembering so many things about you, sometimes accurate, sometimes not, and sometimes they're just remembering a version of you that does not even exist anymore. These situations show up in little moments. Don't even see it like a big deal until they keep happening. For instance, you finally say no, and then someone looks at you like you have committed a crime. Like, when did you start saying no? When did you start speaking up? The problem is not the no, because saying no is not wrong, but because in their minds you are still the person who never spoke up. You are still the person who was shy, the person who lacked confidence. And instead of hearing, oh, you've really grown, you hear someone giving you the impression like, who are you trying to impress? And maybe you have even spent years trying to become more responsible, but at every family gathering, someone is still telling the story about how you did one silly thing when you were 16, and then everybody laughs. Sometimes you might even laugh, but part of you is still thinking that I'm no longer 16 and I don't have to keep paying for these jokes. Or maybe you made one terrible mistake, one mistake that spent years trying to become someone better. You spent so many years, so many effort trying to become more honest, more intentional, more trustworthy, and yet somehow every disagreement still ends up with people saying that you really cannot change, or you would always be like this. Sincerely, trust does not come back magically. It doesn't come. Some actions have consequences, and some wounds actually take so long to heal. Some relationships don't even survive at all, and that's real. But accountability and permanent identity are not the same thing. A person can be responsible for what they did without being sentenced to that version of themselves forever. The hardest part isn't changing. It's realizing that the people around you are still responding to someone who doesn't exist anymore. But if you look at it deeply, you would not even blame them, because change schools, you got a new job, you lose people, you gain confidence. Sometimes you even lose confidence, you heal, you fail. You learn, you even become softer, or you become stronger. And sometimes you become both, but you live an entire life while somebody else is there. And then they keep introducing you as the person that they knew 5 years ago. But before we go hard on them, we've probably done the same thing. We still call people dramatic because they used to overreact. We still assume that some people are lazy because there was a time that we knew them and they struggled. We still remember the mistakes that somebody made long after they've learned from it. And it's almost like our memories freeze people in places we haven't really been paying attention, and we have been remembering what we knew about people instead of noticing. In actual, this is uncomfortable. People not updating the version of you, of your growth. You cannot force people to update their image of you. You cannot argue with someone into seeing your growth, and you cannot convince everyone that you are now different. Some people need evidence, some people need time, some people just don't want to accept that you have grown, and some people may never let go of that version of you that they first met. And living with that can be very exhausting. It can even make you question yourself. It can make you change how you move through life, and that's a really difficult place to be. But I don't think we have to spend our lives trying to prove to anybody, trying to convince anybody that we have changed, trying to write everybody's opinion or their assumptions or whatever they've labeled you as or attached your name to. I don't think that's real freedom, because real freedom is allowing your life to become proof and not your explanations, not your argument, not even your speeches, because eventually the people who truly care, maybe not immediately, they will notice. And over time, those people who refuse to not see it, to not see the version of you that has grown, let it be. Because whatever thoughts they have of you in their heads is not necessarily you. And that's okay. I know that it hurts for somebody to label you as something. But then it is not your responsibility to manage everyone's memory of you. What is important is to become someone that you are proud to be. And that's all that matters. While I was thinking about this episode, something hit me somewhere really, really close to home. And honestly, I didn't like where that thought was taking me to. I know that I spent all this time talking about how people refuse to let go of the old version of you. But something dropped in my mind. What if, just what if, the newer version of you isn't really the better one? You see where I'm going, right? Because the moment that question popped in my head, I started pulling at the thread. And somewhere along the line, I realized that maybe we have been giving change too much credit. We treat change like as if it is automatic growth, as if every new version of ourselves is an upgrade. But life does not work like software updates. Sometimes life doesn't just change us, it bruises us, softens us. Other times it hardens us. Sometimes it teaches us wisdom, fear. Sometimes the exact same experience teaches two people completely different lessons. Yes, change is guaranteed. At every point in our life, we experience change, but growth is not. Maybe that's why that question refused to leave me alone, because what if the version of you that people miss is not the immature version of you? Maybe when somebody says you are not the same anymore, maybe they are not talking about the version of you that makes mistake or that made a mistake. Maybe they miss the person who laughed so hard, version of you that danced without checking who was watching, the optimistic person, the one that is always believing that good things are still possible, the one that called people just because you want to know how they are doing, just random checks, the one that no matter how much they are carrying, when they still enter a room, they light up the whole place. They don't let things get them so much. I just want to hear somebody say, I've missed the old you. For a second, you don't know whether to take that as a compliment or an accusation, because they are talking about a version of you that you have relived, and they are reminding you of that version. They look at it closely. You see that even you miss a particular version of you. There are versions of me that I'm genuinely glad they no longer exist. The version of myself that always doubted self, the version that constantly questioned whether I was enough. So I'm grateful that I grew. But if I'm being honest, there are also versions of me that I miss. The one that always worried a little less. The one that wasn't always analyzing every little thing. I know that it's still there somewhere. Sometimes I wonder when I became so careful, whether that version of me is completely gone or just waiting for me to find my way back. So maybe that's you too. Maybe life happened, responsibility happened, heartbreak happened, disappointment happened, grief happened. Basically, life happened, and maybe nobody noticed the change. Neither did you. You were not trying to become harder, just trying to survive. We survive for so long that surviving becomes the only thing that we know how to do. We become so busy protecting ourselves that we accidentally stop living. This doesn't have to be the final version of you. I know it's hard to heal sometimes, but in healing, you don't have to pretend nothing happened. It's carrying what happened without letting it carry all of you. There's another layer to this. If I'm asking people to stop freezing us in time, who have you frozen in time? It could even be yourself. It could be somebody close. It could be somebody that you're just acquainted with. But you're probably frozen them with time. And when you think about that person, what's the first picture that comes to your mind? So you see why encouragement matters. Because people borrow hope from people who still believe that they can become better. And sometimes All someone needs to hear is just, I can see you are trying, or I'm proud of how far you've come. Not because they become perfect, but because they are becoming. And honestly, isn't that what all of us are hoping for? For someone to notice that we have been trying. So give people room to grow. And you also encourage people. The people who still insist on seeing another version of you, I hope you don't mind them and you keep growing anyway. Not to prove them wrong, not to make anybody regret underestimating you. Not because you're waiting for someone to finally notice that you are growing, but because the person that you are becoming deserves the chance to exist. So whether everyone sees it or not, just do you and be proud of the you that you are doing. So yeah, let's do better. You can't freeze people in one moment. People are stories, and no matter how much you think you know them, you can never really know what comes next. You can't predict the plot twist from one chapter. So maybe next time you meet someone, even if it's someone that you have known for years, leave a little room for the possibility that they've changed, that they've grown, and that they become someone you've never met. And maybe that's the conversation for today. Shout out to Ayodele, a loyal listener. He's a friend too. He suggested this topic. I had a lot to say about it. And to everyone else who sent in their suggestions, your topics are coming one by one. So thank you for trusting me with your thoughts and for giving me the conversations to think about. If this episode made you think of someone or it made you look at yourself a little differently, I would love to hear your thoughts. Until next time, keep questioning, keep growing, keep figuring things out, one conversation at a time, one lesson at a time, one day at a time. I remember, stay jiggy.